GM. Today is Friday, the 19th of Jan. I'm going to take a look. Let's do daily levels. So, I think we're going up short term. This to me seems more like a trap below these lows and above all this key support. Right, so there's plenty of support below. Whether further wicks down into that happen, I'm not sure, but I've seen signs of a reversal here. This to me looks like a reversal. These 3 4-hour candles all wicking down. Then off the daily open, we had a dump. So we've got a lower daily wick today, which is good. And then we pushed up through. The key level I'm looking at is last week's low. So if you zoom out to the weekly, you'll see. Here we go. Last week's low got taken out yesterday. There we go, taken out. And we're pushing up against that now. I think if we can reclaim that, which it seems like price is doing, on the 4-hour, it's starting to form a nice shape that you would expect it to see. The hourly, trying to reject, but it seems to keep pushing up. So I think the battle is going to be right at this level as to whether there can be further squeeze higher by bulls, which would just mean short squeeze. A bunch of shorts will be forced to close if it continues higher because it's reclaiming this old level, this old low, and it would push first towards the weekly open. At the weekly open, I'd expect to see some minor resistance. And if that holds, then I'd see it fill in at least the gap up into there. But usually, when you get these reclaims at some kind of a range low or just a previous week's low sweep level, it'll often lead to a move to the other side. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a move all the way through to the other side where there's liquidity. And I think we can get to 45k still, but I don't know if that's going to be right away. I'm just playing or looking at it on the lower time frames. And I won't really be trading it much because I'm busy today, busy for the next couple of days. I'll just be focusing on real world and streaming, doing my live streams. The sentiment I see online has gotten quite bearish quite fast. And it doesn't seem justified, to be honest. I like seeing it, right? It means people are getting way ahead of themselves. When actually, I want prices to go lower. Like, prices need to go a bit lower. And people are I see a lot of like victory laps from bears saying this is all over. You've no idea how much of a scam this all is. You're an idiot if you're buying. I'm just like, bro, you've been around for like a year. There's a lot of people online that I'm seeing that they haven't been around crypto long enough, and you can tell they haven't been around long enough because they're saying that all this stuff is worthless. I was like, yes, that's the point. So the bit of truth that there is in that is that because a lot of this stuff is basically worthless, the pullbacks themselves can be aggressive on, alts that don't have real fundamental value because people will paper hand quicker, people will not hold on, and rightly so. Like, I mean, you shouldn't hold on if you think something's going to go down 40%. But the whole point is these people will sell and they will play it wrong because they won't get back in, and then they'll miss as the biggest scams in the world go fucking 100x in the biggest crypto bubble we've ever seen, led by AI. And that's the part that you need to keep front of mind. Probably the biggest bubble ever is brewing, and people are already just trying to talk themselves out of it. They're trying to fade it. They're trying to get bearish when we're just early bull. Get bearish at the first possible opportunity. I don't see it personally. I see any pullbacks as opportunities. I do think price action will get more difficult to trade as we go on. You see, like on the low time frames this morning, I've been watching price here, and specifically at this dotted red line, which was the initial bounce. We pushed above it, sold off, pushed above it again, dipped back, but held at a higher low, and now we're back retesting it. So on the low time frames, this is like my pivot point, line in the sand. I think above that we can see a green Friday. Below that we'll see probably more sideways, more chop. Maybe prices will come down into this liquidity. That could happen quite easily if the ETF flows are considered bearish again as we go into New York session. Not sure, because yesterday we had exactly that. We had a little pump at the beginning of New York session and then just relentless selling all the way. So that leaves it actually kind of interesting, because every trading day has basically been bearish for the ETFs so far. And I mean, if you just look at the ticker itself, IBIT, that's been the fucking Bitcoin ETF so far. Welcome, TradFi. And I mean, at some point, 4 red days in a row, people are probably going to get too bearish, expecting just this thing to go down forever, and you'll see some kind of reaction. Don't know if that's going to be now or if it'll be next week. But certainly, there's a trend of the ETFs being bearish on the open. So we'll see, does that continue? There's also a thing with, if you're looking at data, like funding rates, open interest, stuff like that, that's all getting a bit skewed as well. Because of the ETFs, there's a lot more hedging going on. And because of the ETFs using Coinbase, there's a lot more CVD anomalies on Coinbase specifically. So the data is a little bit, it's not, well, at the moment it's less reliable, right? Especially open interest. There's a lot of things that would indicate like it doesn't mean it's a short squeeze if there's certain things happening, and a whole host of things. It's because a lot of these market makers are trying to hedge, they'll be short the perps, but they've bought spot and they're waiting to transfer it over to the ETF. They'll use some way of hedging if they can use international exchanges. So it's important just to keep that in mind as well, because I know there'll be a lot of people saying like, "Oh, open interest is doing this, open interest doing that." We're not, like, it's not just a directional trade anymore, right? Bitcoin has always had an element of hedging because options have been quite big, but I think this is going to really take it even further. And so if you're looking at like CoinLies or Velo Data or whatever, just keep that in mind. Trying to differentiate the short-term speculation from what might be hedging or market makers. So that's it. I mean, Bitcoin's just friendless here. If we stay below this previous week's low, last Friday's low, if we stay below there, for me, it's bearish on the low time frames. If we get above that, it's bullish, and I'd expect a squeeze higher. So price kind of battling around at that level now, but bulls are losing on the low time frames. We'll see what happens. GM.